We did it! We did it, everyone! We did Peachtober, or October in general, art prompts. Yay! Now I'll do my real start.
That would have been so loud.
Sorry. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you want to design and build a beautiful website, you can do it all in one place with Squarespace. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's already been a month since I last made a video because it really has felt fast. I think it's because I've been so busy every day. But congratulations if you did any of Peachtober prompts or any art prompts in general. And super congratulations if you finished because it's really, really hard. And like, I also find it hard and I made the prompt list, so I picked words that I liked and I still find it difficult. So congrats, it's just such a feat. And even if you didn't finish, like it's such a feat to publicly be like, I'm gonna do this and then risk embarrassing yourself or risk like not completing it or whatever. Well, actually, let's all pat ourselves on the back. Although, like, I have to say I'm filming this and I've only done up to 28, so let's hope the last few are okay. I know what I'm doing for the last few, so I can still talk you through and hopefully add the footage in on the 31st so I can post this, but we shall see. Also, side note, do you guys like my haircut? Oh my gosh, this is the first haircut I've had for like 6 months. Australia went into lockdown just like 2 days before I had my appointment booked for my hair, so it was already due, it was already looking bad, and then it was just so bad. And then I tried to cut my fringe and it was awful. And I was like, no, I just have to wait till I go to the hairdressers. So I finally got my haircut. I feel like myself again, like every outfit looks better. I honestly felt like I was just falling into a pit of just like settling and just being so fugly. Like I just felt like I was dressing badly. I just didn't feel good. And then as soon as I got my haircut, I'm like, I'm going to dress up every day. I also got it dyed. I don't know if you can tell, but I've never had my hair dyed a natural color and I really like it. So if you don't like it, please don't tell me because I don't want it to be ruined. That's it. Let's jump into it because we have a lot to talk about. I did a painting every day for a month, which is crazy. And I've done this challenge a few times, but it's always a challenge and it's always rewarding as well. So I want to take you through every single piece. And I have to say, I think this year's pieces are quite exceptional by my standards, like out of all the ones I've done. I'm going to try and only spend like a minute on each piece so that it's not draining for you, so that you get to see a bit more of the process than I showed on Instagram. And I hope you enjoy it. Why don't, but at the end of the video, you let me know which pieces you like best. But anyway, okay, let's get started. And I'm just going to look on my Instagram to see. I can't believe how many posts I make in October, and then I make a few posts in between, and then every October it's like boom, and it's like the same amount of posts, and it's like that's the whole year, and then boom. I love it. So the first prompt was Tulip, and this one I was so excited about because I've been drawing flowers lately. I never really liked flowers before, and I think it's because I have hay fever. I did have this idea a few months ago of a person sticking their whole head into like a bed of flowers, and the idea was that the flowers have secrets to tell us. If just we listen, we will be able to find out. This was the second piece that I did. I actually did number 3 first because I thought it was going to be easier, and one thing that did stress me out this year was that I decided to attempt to learn gouache on top of running a new Peachtober Instagram account, on top of posting every day, on top of client work bleeding into October, and on top of doing a reels every day. So I think that was just a bit much. The best thing about the Arttober challenges is that it's an excellent time to learn because you're pressured to get something done every day, so you're not too precious and you don't overwork pieces. So this piece I found actually really difficult. The process that I'm used to is building up layers, but with gouache you're often meant to work back to front and also dark to light, which is just something that I wasn't used to. And so this piece really took me a long time. I struggled. Like I started to think about them in terms of how I work digitally, which is just really weird, but that's how I worked it out. But I'm so happy with it. It's actually one of my favorites. And I'm just like, how did I get it so right at the very beginning? Did you guys try anything new this Arttober? Because I feel like it's a great time to do that. And I think the spirit of Inktober is that you were supposed to try something new. So day 2 is smoke. My process is actually that I brainstorm a bunch of just crappy sketches, and then I move on to my tablet and I do more refined sketches and then refine the sketch again. Then I lightbox it onto a piece of paper using guided access mode. I can tell you more about that if you guys don't know what that is in another video. And then I start painting it. I knew from the brainstorming stage that I really wanted to create a piece that had a lot of different sources of smoke because I wanted to play with transparency and I wanted to play with like smoke in front of smoke and like clouds in front of smoke and stuff like that. And I just thought it'd be really impactful if I had created a landscape with lots and lots of smoke, because usually I create a big vast landscape with a tiny little house, but I wanted to create something with like lots of buildings because that's just something I haven't really done outside of like my books. This piece felt a little strange because I didn't draw any faces on anything, and usually when I draw a little house I like to like personify it with a little face. I guess I'm a serious artist now or something, but I like it, but it's not as like fun and cute as what I usually would do. But I'm very happy with the end results though, I have to say. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's really cute. And I love that there's like volcano smoke. There's like smoke from like, maybe it's a nuclear power plant. I don't know. It's like a smokestack factory. Smoke from a little town, and also smoke from like a little campfire as well. I just think this, it's so nice that like you lead your eye around. Also this whole, I'm very happy with my Peachtober pieces, so I am going to be gassing myself up and I'm sorry in advance. Okay, so number 3 was cloud. This is the first prompt that I did. The reason I chose to do this one first was because I thought it was going to be the easiest, and it was easy, but if I did it now it'd be a lot easier. But I also had no idea about how to get the right consistency with gouache. I had tried gouache, but not enough to even know what I was doing every time I sat down. Something that I found really difficult with gouache is getting the right consistency and getting it to stay there, especially because I was using acrylic gouache. The difference between regular gouache and acrylic gouache, from my vast knowledge of gouache, which is not, that's a joke, I don't know anything about gouache besides using it this Peachtober, but the difference is acrylic gouache, once it dries it can't be reactivated, whereas regular gouache like watercolor can be lifted again. Found it really difficult to maintain like the right consistency. Something I've gotten better at, but something that I still struggle a little with. Overall I'm like super happy with this piece, but I did like labor over those clouds because I also had a vision that I wanted these other colors to come through, and it got like quite muddy. But the best thing about gouache is quite forgiving and that you can layer on top, which is not something that happens with ink and watercolor. But yeah, overall super happy with the colors. I think it was a nice like first piece. Day 4, hand. I was so excited when I was brainstorming hand, when I thought of the idea to do the foam hand. I was thinking about like sports and how I know nothing about sports, but like how the couple of times that I've been to sporting events, I've been excited about like the snack truck. So I thought of drawing this little girl who was like standing in the crowd with her number 1 fan, foam hand, eating a hot dog surrounded by popcorn and peanuts. And I just love the idea that she's stoked to be there because of the food, because that's what I would be. I didn't notice this when I was drawing this, and even when I was doing the refined sketches, but as soon as I put down that dark hair, I was like, it's basically Lucy Van Pelt from Peanuts. And there's peanuts on the floor. So I just feel like it was accidental peanut art, and I know how that happened because I'm a big fan of Peanuts and I love the comic strips, and my dad has a lot of old books which I now have in my cupboard. It was unintentional, but it looks like it, and that disappoints me because it's like I didn't want to set out to make fan art, but I accidentally did. But she's very cute. Lucy is very cute as well, but it wasn't what I intended, I have to say. I think what it is I feel really silly for not noticing it before that point. Also, something I realized when I was doing this is that I don't know what a baseball looks like, and I don't know how to draw a baseball. I like drew it. It looks okay from afar, but like it's a little bit like a tennis ball with red stitching and white leather. I'm not American, it's fine. So next is number 5, which is rise. Little context for this is every prompt list I create, so for the last 3 years, there's been 1 prompt pair in the set of prompts. And what I mean by that is that they are related and they're one after another in the prompt list. But I do like to keep the pieces related because they're opposite. This year I was really trying to do that, and I had a cool idea of doing the same landscape at different times. And initially I was thinking like sunrise and nightfall, or moonrise and sunfall and stuff like that. But then I had an idea of doing like the rise of aviation and the fall of the dinosaurs, an aeroplane rising from the earth, and you see like the landscape there. You see like that it's quite arid. There are some green spots, but it's very like there's lots of reds and yellows as well. And I also wanted to use the same color palette. And because of this, I decided to do the 2 pieces at the same time. Not a good idea. I think that was like really to to the detriment of the pieces. I think I could have done better if I did it one by one, but then I'm also like, could I have mixed the same colors because I'm so unfamiliar with gouache. But yeah, I did these two pieces side by side. It was a good exercise, but I don't think I'll do that again unless I'm like super familiar with the medium. I especially love the shadow in this, and a lot of people said that they liked it too on Instagram, so I really like it. Also, FYI, I'm not showing very good final shots for this because it's what I had on my phone footage, but if you want to see really high-res versions, go onto my Instagram because I upload scans. Okay, so now Fall of the Dinosaurs. This one is so cute. I love it. Notice the comet, which is obviously like the fall of the dinosaurs supposedly, is the same shape as like the stream of the airplane, like the smoke of the airplane. I really wanted that visual similarity on top of like the landscape being the same. And also, if you notice, in the previous piece there was like a big crater, and that is meant to be like the future of where the comet hit because it's the same landscape. So that's something that I wanted to include. I had lots of fun playing with the glow of the comet on the grass here. It was a little bit difficult to figure out, but I love the shadows as well here of the dinosaurs, and I just love painting the dinosaurs. They're so cute. Like, painting tiny things is so fun. These were also the first prompts that I created this like cross-hatching-ish pencil work, and I do it in quite a few of the Peachtober pieces from now forward. And actually, when I did this, when I was doing it, I was like, this looks so bad. But then as a final piece, like looking at it, I really liked it, and so that's why I think I continued on to other pieces. And it's also a really like easy and great way to create texture on top of the gouache.
On a fastball, throwing hard, aiming high and a little bit outside.
Okay, next is Tree House. This one was very popular, like surprisingly very popular. It's always the pieces I don't expect. This one I called the Midnight Meeting, and it's just like these kids that are a little bit late to the meeting at the tree house in the middle of the night. I love playing on childhood and mischief and just the stuff you get up to when you're a kid, you know? But yeah, they look so cute. I love that it's like, is it 2 characters or is it 3 because the little bear? I really had this idea for Treehouse that I wanted it to be all blue with just like a pop of yellow. And I semi-achieved this here, but because I put the torch, I think it loses some of the effect, but I like the torch as well, so I wanted to include it. I wasn't going to have characters in the picture, but then I realized like I think it would be so nice for them to be like going to the treehouse to tell the story of like there is something going on up there, not just like there's lights on in the treehouse in the middle of the night, you know? I just think it's a little bit cheeky and I love it.
I can't walk this road all on my own. Don't go inside, don't leave me.
Prompt number 8 is crown. I was like, should I do royalty or should I do like a flower crown? I did a flower crown. A lot of people also did a flower crown. I think it was a popular direction to take. With a bit of ingenuity, you can dub yourself spring royalty, which is just like, you know, celebrating yourself and pretending that you have claim over things you do not have claim over. I actually think that I'm really obsessed with painting transparency or like varying levels of transparency or things overlapping, because the main reason I want to do this, I worked so hard to be able to do a tutu. I did so many like sketches of this tutu, and I was like doing studies of like Molly Goddard dresses and stuff like that, but in the end I just kind of made this piece up. But I love what I did with the transparency. Actually, it was like a lot of work to wrap my head around it, and I remember like layering it up in Procreate and then redrawing it and redrawing it. And then when I did it, it was also laborious because I kind of didn't understand it even when I was doing it, but I'm happy with how it came out. Also, isn't it weird that when you're like watching a show or something and you're doing something else or listening to music and doing something else, you really like remember that? Like we were watching Squid Game when I was painting this, and I really just like, this is so attached to Squid Game, which is just really weird. Okay, Okay, next is thunder. This piece is really fun. I had an idea that I wanted to convey, you know, when you don't hear the thunder yet, like the thunder is coming, but you see like the flashes in the clouds, and it's kind of like these faint flashes further away in the clouds. I wanted to convey this. I also wanted to do this piece in grayscale, but of course, like I could never do something in fully grayscale. Could I? I decided to underpaint it with like a rainbow bleeds and then paint over it in gray with a really, really loose gouache mix so that the rainbow peeked through a little, but there's this little rainbow, like a hidden rainbow, and there's a black and white piece. I love that. Something that I found interesting about this prompt is that thunder is a sound, and we all drew clouds and lightning. Like obviously that's the obvious thing to do, but I just love that, like I love the similar train of thought. I love seeing every day what is the popular way to go and who doesn't do that, and also like how you make the obvious route interesting, because there was so many amazing pieces. I checked today, it's not even the end of Peachtober yet. I've been sharing my favorites on the Peachtober Instagram, and I checked and I had like 700 posts that I shared, which is crazy because it doesn't feel like that at all. Number 10 is frog. I secretly included this because first of all, like I don't know how to draw frogs very well, but also I know Lee likes frogs, and I was like, maybe Lee can do my prompt, and she did do it. If you didn't do it, I'd be like, well, why? I did it for you. I had this stacked frog idea in my mind for a while. I tried to do it a while ago, but I just didn't finish the painting. It was terrible. But I just love the idea of like kind of different sizes frogs stacked up in a pyramid. I wanted to use my negative painting technique that I use in a lot of my work to create like a flurry of insects around these frogs. The idea was like all the different reactions you can have to like too many options. So the first frog at the bottom is like, oh my god, this is too much. The middle frog is like, wow, and the top frog is like, I love this. So it's just like, which one are you? I feel like I'm like the middle one where you kind of like, this is great, but also like I can't choose. The sky part is how I want my work to look, especially when I'm doing book projects. I just really love it. I think it's really playful, colorful, but like nice and flat, which is something that I like. Like it looks like it's on a single plane. And I think sometimes when I work with ink, I can create too much depth for what my taste is. I don't usually work in these colors, but I really, really like it. The beauty of Peachtober. 11 is gold. This one I was like, what am I gonna do for this? We also have like, I think we have treasure in this as well, and it's just kind of like, why did I put both of those in? I was like, oh, this would be fun, and then I think of a few words for a similar vibe or like a feeling, and then I just accidentally included both of them, so it's like, what the hell? And I did it for scout and uniform as well. Like I think I liked the idea of painting a scout, and then I just included both prompts, and I'm like, what the hell? I love this piece. Like this turned out better than I expected. I love how flat it is. I think what I'm after with my pieces is this like a lot going on, but like a flattened plane. Like everything's on a single plane, like you would see in like the old Mario games and stuff like that. I just love that look. I would love for my books to have this look. I think it's really beautiful. Like they are so happy to have discovered this like nugget, which of course would be worth heaps, but they're just so close to discover the biggest piece of gold ever. And I guess it's like they're happy with just that, and that's fine. I just love that childlike innocence where they're just like so excited. They don't even know that it could be better, you know? Also, I really love like painting the layers of the earth. I've done it a couple of times, and I have wanted to do it traditionally, which I haven't done. So I'm really happy I got to do it with this piece, and I'm so happy with the end result. 12 is honey. I had a few ideas. Initially, I was going to just do like a tree with a beehive in it because I thought that would be cute. Like one of my goals for Peachtober this year was to do a lot of landscapes. A lot of my work is like a snapshot or like a moment in time, like in a part of a bigger story, which is something that I think you can see sometimes. But I was like, should I just do a tree? Like, is there no story here? But then when I did the sketches for the tree, I'm like, it wouldn't be that hard to add in some bears. And then I did like a mum bear with like honey all over her hands and like a baby bear looking on and bees everywhere. But then I was like, why don't we do something different? Obviously, like that always happens. Also, if you want to see the sketches, I've included them in all of my Instagram posts as well. So I would go look there. It goes back in time of the process of the piece. The idea behind this piece was like, it takes a swarm to raise a cub, which is like a play on it takes a village to raise a child. And I just love the idea that this is like little chubby cubs like sitting in the grass, and these bees are coming by and feeding the sweet little cub one drop by one drop. 13 is treasure. This piece was actually really difficult for me. The idea behind this piece is that treasure is in the eye of the beholder. It's not always something that's precious. It could be something that's sentimental. It could be just precious to you and to no one else. So I wanted to like create a shelf full of like these treasures that someone had collected over their lifetime. But the reason that this was difficult, I think, is because like I really psyched myself out. I psyched myself out with part of it to paint first, but also like what colors to use. I was like really stressed about getting it wrong, and I think that made me stall. Like I like really stalled and procrastinated with this piece, like in a way that really like set me back. But I was listening to Harry Potter audiobook at the time, so I feel like that's why the colors ended up being maroon and stuff like that. But yeah, I like the end result, but it was like, this one was like the first one that was really hard for me, and the first one that throughout the whole thing I was like, is this gonna turn out bad? Like it made it really like hard to move on. It made it really hard to continue on because I was worried about how I wouldn't like it or if I would have to start again. And I think that's one thing that's dangerous about these like public challenges, is that you're still, it's not like it's a random sketchbook page where you can figure it out without fear. It's like you have to show people. And even though like I'm quite comfortable with sharing stuff, I still want it to be good, you know, like for myself. I want the final spread of paintings to be amazing as a collection. And I think that's a lot of pressure, especially when you're learning a new medium, but also when you're doing a painting a day. It's a lot of pressure. I wish I had just like bit the bullet and just done it straight away, instead of just being like, should I? And just sitting there and just like doodling and stuff. Number 14 is Scout. For the longest time, even up until the refined sketching stage, I thought I was going to do like a group photo of a scout troop. What I imagined was like similar to like the Moonrise Kingdom poster, like, and I think that's also why I didn't want to do it in the end, because I didn't want to be doing something so close to that. And even though I tried to step away from that, people still commented like that it reminded them of Moonrise Kingdom. And also there was a lot of Moonrise Kingdom entries, which I was like, oh, I was obviously happy to see because it's one of my favorite movies. In the end, I was talking to my friend Nate, who was a scout, and I was like, what do they do? He saw me drawing the sketch of like the scout troop group photo, and he was like, why don't you just draw them like having fun? Like, why don't you just draw them playing? I was like, that's awesome. And I also drew a little Nate because he was a scout. He's the only person I know that was a scout. I actually don't really know anyone that was a scout. But yeah, the one at the bottom is inspired by Nathan. I got it in the end, but it was just difficult. Like I think just because I'm new to gouache, it's just like not as easy as it is for me with watercolor and ink and stuff like that. Like I'm able to use a larger round brush and get a huge variation of lines. But because I wasn't familiar, or because I was still figuring out how to mix it to the right consistency, for it to be opaque but also like loose enough to like flow off the brush, it was just difficult. I love the sense of playfulness and stuff. That little hand out the side was an afterthought, so I liked it, and a lot of people mentioned that they liked it, so that makes me really happy. Is toast. I want to do a toasted marshmallow. Okay, this one was the most popular one, which is hilarious because it was one of the fastest ones to paint, and I think that always happens. But maybe I should just only do fast paintings, you know, like because they're easier to paint. People love them the most. I'm sometimes like, do I have terrible taste? I don't know. So basically I do this thing on Instagram stories where I ask you guys to name a thing and then I'll draw it, and this is what I do when I don't know what to draw, or I want to have a drawing exercise or warm up or something like that. It's also a fun game to play with you guys. Someone must have said like marshmallow during that time, and I drew this little marshmallow on fire that's really similar to the final painting, but I wanted to commit this little guy to like paint, you know, because I feel like it's solidified. I just love his little face. He's just like having a tantrum because he's on fire, but also like that would be awful. Like that I would have a tantrum if I was on fire. I wouldn't even have a tantrum. I'd be screaming. I'd be like so terrified. I feel like it can also be perceived that he caused the fire. Like he's so upset. Or you know in Inside Out where like anger is just like, and then his headlight's on fire. I feel like that's like the vibe. We are officially halfway through all of the Peachtobers. I want to take this moment to say thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, as per usual. I will be actually selling my Peachtober originals and prints of all of the Peachtobers this year, and you know that I'm doing it on my store, which is on Squarespace, and it has been for many years. You can do everything from the Squarespace app, which is awesome. You can check your analytics, you can upload listings, you can photograph stuff on your phone, edit it on your phone, and upload it on your phone to your store. You don't even need a computer, which is great for me because most of the images I create are on my phone. And then from there you can like fulfill orders, you can manage orders, you can go through past orders, you can do all of that inventory stuff as well. Admin, you can do that on the Squarespace app. When I say all in one place with Squarespace, need I say more? I'm actually really excited to upload stuff to my store because it's just like the cherry on top of like the Peachtober month. You want a store, or you want a portfolio online, or you want a blog, they do everything. If you haven't tried it, please go to squarespace.com/furrylittlepeach. You'll get a free trial and 10% off your first purchase. That's it. Back to regular programming. 16, summit. So obviously I had to include a mountain prompt, or a prompt that meant that I could draw a mountain, because leading up to Peachtober, I had only been drawing mountains for months. And I think the reason I started drawing mountains is because like lockdown happened, and maybe I was just like subconsciously drawing like things that are obstacles in really like fun and colorful ways, just kind of trying to put like a fun spin on it. This idea I've had for a while. Actually, the sketch is here. This is not planned. It was just sitting here. This is the original sketch I did. I did this, you can't see it, but I did it long before Peachtober. I just did like a really bad like scribbly drawing, and I hadn't had a chance to paint it because I had done my other mountain paintings, and then I had a bunch of commercial work. So I thought this would be a perfect time to do it. Now, was this exactly what I had planned? No. When I laid down the ink wash for this piece, it was a lot more saturated than I intended. Like I just accidentally used too much. So it was really dark, and I was like, how do I get the mountain to stand off the background when the background is very dark to very light? So I decided to do this reverse gradient of the sky on the mountain, and I think the end result is actually quite nice. I feel like it's a little bit different to my usual stuff, but I'm really, really happy with it, and I love the way the flowers look on it too. This blue to yellow sky is something I didn't really do before. This is a very new Peachtober specific look. This is why like the stress of Peachtober is worth it to me. Community vibes aside, when you have a time limit, you'll push through things that you're like, oh, should I start again? Because you just don't have time to start again, and then you end up liking them. It's really fun. Next is 17, which is jar, and this I knew I wanted to be a homage to my like galaxy jar piece, but I'm sure there's some of you that were following me since the Tumblr days, which was like 2010 or 11, which is ages ago, which is 10 years ago, which is crazy. I'm such a relic. When I was a teen, I painted this piece that was just basically like a jar that was labeled Galaxies Far, Far Away, and it had like this purple swirl of watercolor in it. Not a very good watercolor galaxy, I have to say, but you know, I think it's the concept that drew people to it. The idea that the entire galaxy could be contained in this little man-made jar. It's like, maybe that's real. I don't know. I remember painting it like casually. I think I painted it on the couch, and then I posted it onto my Tumblr page, and then I went to work, and I came back and I had like a few thousand more followers, and I only had like, I don't know how many followers. It was like less than 2,000. So it was a big deal. And I was like, oh, cool. That's weird. And then a couple years later, I was talking to like my internet pal, Jacob Van Loon, who was also an artist who shared their work on Tumblr. And he was like, that thing was on the radar for 3 weeks. I was like, oh my God, I did not know that. Like, how did I miss that? The radar is basically like a section of the sidebar on your Tumblr dashboard that every user sees, and they feature a post there. So I just miss Tumblr. See how long I'm talking about Tumblr? I just love it. But at that time, it was a big deal. And I was just like, wow, what the heck? That's crazy. I know people are like, do it for you and don't do it for anyone else, but that's just not how I feel about my work. Like, I want to make work that makes people happy, and so when it resonates with people, that's just an indication of that I'm doing what I want to do. I think the watercolor galaxy is much better in this one. I love doing inky bleedy stuff. Like, I just love it because I just think it's so therapeutic. Like, I really know how to control like ink and watercolor, except when I drop it on the paper, but like other than that, I feel like I really have a good hold on how to do it. So it's like just relaxing. It's just so cathartic. Okay, this one, another favorite. Sorry, I know like I have so many favorites of myself, but I really like surprised myself this year. Like, I did really intricate pieces, and I really think I pulled it off. Okay, so 18 is match. I was like, what do I do for this? Playing with the idea of painting a rock and an eye as in like a perfect match or like a good match. And then I had this idea of like this small girl or giant match, swiping it along a matchbox and like to light it up. But then I decided to have a character that had like a giant matchbox backpack holding this giant match, like walking through like a cave or like a dark space, so that I could create like a really nice glow, kind of like what I did for the marshmallow piece. It looks really different to a lot of my other pieces. I don't know why. I think it's just because it's so dramatic. It's not like in the sunshine and like very colorful. It's kind of spooky. It's like probably as close as I'll get to Halloween vibes. There's like bats, it's orange. Spooky. Something that I really liked about doing this is that I did a lot of ink. Prior to this point, like the majority of the actual piece in the landscape is all gouache. Obviously, like I'm not as good at it, so it was really hard, but because I did like the layers in this, I was like, oh, so easy. Then I like detailed with gouache. I was like, okay, so there's different ratios of these mediums that I can use, and they create like different looks. So I started getting an understanding of like what I could use gouache for, what I could use ink for, not just doing the ink as the background and then the gouache as everything else. I really love this concept. So 19 is uniform. I thought about things that were all the same. I thought about like a wall filled with picture frames and one of them was turned. When I was doing the brainstorming, I drew like a schoolgirl, the first thing that comes to mind. Then I drew a little kid in a firefighter's uniform. And then I drew like a Dalmatian by their side, and I was like, oh, I love like creating that like strong bond of like they're on an adventure together, they have a mission together. And so I was like, I have to paint this kid in the fire person costume on a dog. The background is heavily inspired by San Francisco. I think that's because I actually visited a fire station when I was in San Francisco. I think that fireman that we visited was like a family friend, so we got to go inside. I got to make lemonade with a fireman. I got to ride around the city on the top of a fire truck, and I got to like shoot a fire hose. It was so fun. It sounds like something that was one of those things where you're like, was this a dream or was this like a real memory from when I was little? And I can confirm it was real. My mom confirmed it. I think that's why I painted like San Francisco-esque houses as the background. I love the kid. I love the dog. The only thing I don't love is like the colors that I use for the background. I don't think it looks bad. I think it just doesn't feel like me. Maybe that's like a blind spot that I have to explore, but I think that's why it feels a little weird. I also just bought the Hidden Art of Disney's mid-century era just before I started this piece. So I was obviously looking at Mary Blair. I was like, Mary Blair did texture with gouache. Maybe I'll try that. So I tried to do it a little, but then I kind of just covered it up with pencil because I was like, I'm not confident enough. Like you can tell that when she does it, it's like, I'm so confident about what I'm doing and where this is going. I'm not at the stage yet, so then I just like covered up with pencil. You can see some of it in like the wooden slats or whatever it's called. Baby, is it called slats?
Cladding.
Okay, Rocket says it's cladding. But yeah, I'm really happy with this piece overall. I think let me explore the pinks and the turquoises and let me get back to you on how I like to use it, because it's just like, I think this is a bit crazy. And I also did another turquoise piece, so I don't know like what that thought process was. So number 20 is sound. I was actually a little stumped for this one. I really wanted to do an ice cream truck because you know the ice cream truck plays that song. But I think I did ice cream truck for a past Peachtober entry, and so then I didn't want to repeat that, but I ended up going with like the one-man band because I didn't know what it was called until like I asked you guys on Instagram. I love just making up this one-man band contraption. I didn't look up any reference images. I was just like, I think I know. I've seen Mary Poppins, but the idea behind this like crazy turquoise background, first of all, turquoise, I don't know if I love turquoise. I feel like I can never say that because then I challenge myself and I'm like, I'll find a way to love it. The idea for this was, it was like the feeling of sound, like the feeling of music, the feeling this music lover gets when the music is just pouring out of them. That's what I wanted from this piece. And I think something that reminds me of what I was trying to do is like in Ratatouille, when Remy has a strawberry and has like the cheese and there's like these like fireworks go off around him. That's like the vibe. I don't know if I really fully achieved it. I do like the multicolored like painterly background. I just don't know if I like turquoise. 21 is sun. This is the first prompt that I was like, I'm going to keep it simple for this one because I'm running out of time. Like I think I had my 3 ahead and it was like like going down to like 1 or none. And so I decided to keep it simple for this one so that I wouldn't fall too far behind for the other ones because I needed some leeway just in case, you know, you never know. So I had all these ideas. I had like ideas about like a kid in a floaty, like at the beach, or like suntan lotion. I'd love to have done like a sunburn, but then I feel like it would have been hard to do, and I just didn't have the time to do another character because I wanted to do a lot of characters for a lot of the other prompts. So sun, I thought I can keep it simple and it still be really cute and impactful. So that's what I did. I started with another radial gradient, which I have been loving this month. And then I played with like the transparency of the clouds and tried to give the illusion that the sun was glowing and like really bright by using the light yellows and the whites on like the warm backdrop. I like it. And I like the little bits of blue popping through the clouds as well. 22 is heart. This one was hard for me. I was like, do I just draw a physical like organ? Then I thought about like heart iconography. You have like the love heart, obviously, the heart with the arrow through it, like a physical organ, which is a bit graphic for me, I think. Then you've got like the heart on the card, Queen of Hearts or whatever. And then I started thinking about, oh, what about like a heart tattoo on an arm? And I drew like a a strong arm holding a dumbbell with like the heart tattoo. And then I was like, okay, who is this strong person? Who is this tough looking person? And could they be soft? Because usually I find that when you meet like a tough person, like all the people that I love that are dear to me that seem tough and scary on the outside are actually just like caramel centers, you know? So I drew this like beautiful strong person holding like a baby crocodile because I just love the idea of like they're both tough looking but they're just softies on the inside. But then I realized like I definitely did a prompt last year where someone was holding like a baby crocodile. I don't know why I'm drawn to these things, you know, they're just lodged in there. So then I decided to draw the same similar person but with like a frog, and I thought that maybe it could be a frog from like the earlier prompt. I love the idea that all of these things exist in the same universe because I think a lot of my work does. So her love heart is very subtle in this one, but it's like a love heart tattoo that says frog, and she's got love heart earrings. I love the colors in this. This is where I can get behind turquoise because it is more subtle. It's more like a green or a blue. It's not just like the dead in the center. I love the light here. I love like that. It looks like it's like a sunset in the background with the dark leaves. It's like it's just like the sun's going down and they've been sitting there like hanging out. 23, which is harvest. When I created this prompt, it obviously conjured up images of like harvesting vegetables and stuff like that. I was brainstorming with Rocket because I was like, let's think of things together. Rocket's suggestion was harvesting teeth, which I think is a bit crazy. The idea was that it was like harvesting teeth so that you could sell them to the tooth fairy all at once and get like a big paycheck. When I did this sketch, it just looked really creepy. It's like a kid with a handful of teeth. I was like, no, I can't do this. Then I thought of like Halloween like hauls because it's kind of like a kid's version of going out and plucking the vegetables is going out and getting candy from all the houses. Then I thought about a space harvest, the equivalent of a tractor and vegetables in space. I thought immediately that it was gonna be like a spaceship with this giant glass belly filled with stars. That was the initial thing that I had in my mind. I also like to think that this is like happening inside the galaxy jar as well. It's like deep inside the galaxy jar, there's these two little characters like harvesting space rocks and turning them into fresh stars. I just love that. 24 is bird. Brainstormed, I drew birds. I drew a bird house. I love drawing bird houses because they're just like little houses and I love drawing houses. And then I thought of doing like lots and lots of bird houses in one tree. Then I had this idea of like this character, the girl that was dressed as a bird, and then she had her arms with the fake wing out holding the birds on her arms. Then I had this other idea of this same character sitting in a tree next to a nest and having like her arm down and having the baby birds crawl up her. The parents had gone missing and she had to take care of the baby birds because that's something that actually happened to me when we went camping. If you guys remember that Christmas vlog, got to the camping site, we noticed like there's this nest that was really lopsided. The babies started falling out one by one over the course of the day. We put like a rubber boat underneath where they were falling out so they could land somewhere, but they would still just like obviously had a far way to drop. It was pretty traumatic actually for them, I'm sure. But we waited to see if the parents would come back. The parents didn't come back. They started getting covered in ants, so we decided to like put them in a hat, and then we spent lots of our days like catching insects. Well, Rocket spent lots of his day catching insects, and then we would go up to the hat and we'd be like peep 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 peep, and then they'd be like bah, bah, like sticking their little faces up, opening their mouths, like wanting food. It was so cute that they just like were so trusting. They just didn't know what was happening. They just looked like little old men as well. They were so cute. And then we fed them all through the weekend, and then when we were going, we were like, we just have to leave them here in this hat. So we put the hat in the tree. And just as we were leaving, the parents came back and they started feeding the baby birds. So it was just like, I think that's something that I was trying to reference here, maybe subconsciously. 25 is water. The initial idea is a cloud watering a bunch of flowers with rain, and or like an otter swimming around like a kelp forest, which is underwater. I liked the idea of like the verb water rather than like the noun water. It'd be cute to see this little cloud doing what it does, which is like watering the landscape and like nourishing the earth and stuff like that. And so initially I had it like zooming through the earth and like had this stream of water underneath. But then I thought, you know, it'd be cute if the cloud was watering the plants with a watering can. And you know what's even cuter? A cloud that's watering the plants with a watering can that looks like the cloud. when I started, I was like, I want to shift the red, yellow, blue that I usually use, the primary colors I usually use, into magenta, yellow, and cyan. It looks so like cute. And does it look too cute? Maybe. I think my work's already cute, so it needs like some balance. So maybe this is too much, or maybe it's just enough. I don't know. 26 is bottle. Thought of doing like a little lemonade stand, like a little kid sitting at a lemonade stand with bottles of lemonade. And then as I started sketching out, I was like, why does it have to be lemonade? Why can't it be appleade? So I decided to do like appleade, which I don't know if that's a thing. I guess it's apple cider or like apple juice. And I drew this little kid, but the initial sketch that I had was like really complex, and it was another like full landscape piece. And I think I started like editing this video that you're watching, and I was like, I just don't have time to do like a full-blown landscape piece. And so I decided to do a snapshot of this piece and just have like the bottles lined up, because then I could like focus on doing like a little sign and having labels on the bottles and like the details there, because in the initial piece you wouldn't be able to see those things. And I thought, why not just focus on the prompt, which is bottle. Spayed. I don't know what happened to the footage for this. I'm really sorry, but it is gone. I think I deleted it accidentally. I don't know how. But I knew from the beginning that I wanted to do like a little tool, like the digging tool. Pretty early on, I was like, oh, a sandcastle is a great idea. And in the end, I just had this little proud kid looking at their creation just after they finished making it, and like the seagulls like interacting with it too. I just think it's a really sweet image. It's really like nostalgic for me because I grew up at the beach and I grew up making sandcastles with my dad. Like they felt this big, but they probably weren't. They were probably like not that big, and I was just very small. 28 is submarine. This one was like the fastest piece ever. This is another attempt at that full blue piece with just a little bit of yellow through like a window. Radial gradient, fast, little yellow swatch, the black for the whales, which this piece probably only took like 15 minutes. And it's so funny because people really like this piece as well. It's just like the effortless pieces people really like. I used to love painting whales a lot, still love painting them. I just don't paint them that much anymore. Then I add that little glow so it just looks like, you know, you get a sense of space where it is. So 29 is Beetle. So for Beetle, I wanted to do like a kid riding a giant beetle, like a rhinoceros beetle. And I wanted them to be dressed in like safari gear because like a rhinoceros is like, I think in an African safari. But basically I wanted them to appear like a rhinoceros, but it's just a beetle. That is the plan. I hope it pans out. But something I'm worried about is doing like a complex background and whether I'll have time for it. But I hope I do. If I don't, it's fine for it to be like an arid place as well, because I think some safaris are quite like dry. 30 is orange. I thought I was going to draw oranges for the longest time. And then I was like, I don't have to draw oranges. I can draw something that is orange. That's like the beauty of Peachtober prompts. So they can be the literal thing, but they can also be something else. Like I always try and think of prompts that mean more than one thing. So for my orange thing, I decided that I wanted to do a fox running through a landscape. This is a very nostalgic Peachtober. I feel like I tried to touch on things that I used to paint a lot. Nostalgia and homages to old works and stuff. Even the submarine piece was just like similar to the herd piece that I did a long while ago. I don't know if any of you know what I'm talking about, but it's like a bunch of like whales swimming around each other. So yes, fox. Love drawing foxes. I've drawn a lot of foxes in my time. Don't have much to say about it because I haven't drawn it yet, but I hope it's amazing. And last but not least, number 31 is cat. And I'm probably going to draw Tonka. If I don't, I'm just going to draw a regular cat. This is the only one that I haven't sketched yet. But I think I'm doing a sleeping cat. Don't know if it's going to be on a rug. Don't know if it's going to be on a person. But the idea is that this is what I'm going to be doing after Peachtober. November 1st, this is exactly what I'm going to be doing. Because it's been a long month. It's like, it's always so fun. And it's obviously self-imposed stress. But it is a lot of work, and it's like work that I want to do and it's worth it, but it's so tiring. Like my day-to-day is I wake up, I go through the hashtag and find pieces that I like for that prompt and also share the pieces that I have received the night before. Then I post them, I message out the ones that I want to post that night, and then I'll send it off because obviously people don't get back to you straight away, so you want to have time. Then we go to the studio, post my piece, so either I might have to scan it if I've already scanned it and been good and like planned ahead, compile everything together like from my tablet, my laptop, and from my phone because there's photos and images in different places. And then I'll start on my piece, so then I will make sure that I've got the refined sketch on my tablet. Sometimes I'll have to do the sketch because I haven't refined the sketch. Then I'll cut my paper, rule the margins, do the light boxing on the tablet, paint it, film it while I'm painting it, save my videos to like a folder to use for my reels. That usually takes all day, obviously, because the paintings like just take a while. For most of Peachtober, I was posting a reel that night, so organizing the reels ready to go and posting it that night. My sister was helping me edit. Thank you, Asia, for doing that. But she's away for a little bit, so I'm gonna have to wait to post the last 7 reels. Then I'd go home. I'd post the pieces that people had sent to me on the Peachtober Instagram account. I'd also go through the hashtag and send pieces that I liked to myself for the next morning. And that was basically my like waking up to sleeping for most of Peachtober. So it was just a lot. On top of that, like I had work from September shift into October. So that was very stressful because I just was like, what if I can't complete it? Like Peachtober is the thing that I clear my schedule for. Like Peachtober is the thing that I love and that I will always do. I think it's the closest thing I get to like Tumblr vibes, like Tumblr community vibes where I'm like down in the trenches with you guys, as opposed to just being like making content and putting it out there. Like I'm making content with you, we're all communicating, I get to see the work you're making. It's so much fun. I love Peachtober. So thank you so much to everyone that's been involved, anyone that's like just even looking through the hashtag, even just commenting on my pieces and everyone else's pieces. And if you've made pieces for Peachtober, thank you so much. Right now there's like 70,000 posts on the hashtag, which is crazy. That's a lot of art to be making in 1 month. Obviously it's not by one person, but it's a lot. But yeah, I'm really grateful to have such like a positive and enthusiastic like community online, like whether it be on YouTube or Instagram or wherever. Like I'm so lucky that I've been able to find all of you because it's just such a nice place to be. I can't do this. Every time I also have PMS, so every time I do this, I'm gonna have to cry like I always do this. So embarrassing. That is all. I hope you like this little wrap up. I hope it wasn't too long-winded. I hope you like the little behind the scenes look at the pieces, the longer videos, and also my explanation. And I will see you very soon. I think I have 2 videos next month, so I will see you then. Goodbye. I like seeing the trains go past. I hope a few trains go past in this brief time that I'm filming. Ew, I know. Why are there so many bees?
There's bees. Why are there bees?
No. Do you have headphones?
Yeah, I do. I'm not just going to look for a music track in the background.